Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and to another video where today I'm going to be doing a preview for the upcoming 2022-23 Vanarama National League season. It's a huge season in the National League, so I couldn't go into this preview alone. I've enlisted the help of a good friend of mine, freelance journalist and FC Halifax Town fan Lewis Walsh. He's going to be guiding us through the preview for this season, what is a huge season in the National League. He's going to be talking about his club Halifax and also all the other big teams in the league, the teams that have come down from the Football League and also the teams that have been promoted from the National League North and South. It's a good job I've got him on board as well because my knowledge of the National League is pretty terrible. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, so we're here with Lewis Walsh, a freelance journalist. Do you want to just say a bit about yourself, introduce yourself?
Hi, like I said, Robbie said, I'm Lewis. Non-league football is basically my bread and butter, so I know way more than I probably should. So I suppose just me and him will probably just go over some of our predictions for the season in National League.
Where I want to start is your team, Halifax Town.
Sure.
You've made a lot of signings going into this into the season, but a few players have departed as well. How do you see the season going for your team?
Well, you're right. We've made a lot of signings, but as you said, that's because we've lost so many key players. You know, we've lost Billy Waters, we've lost Tyrell Warren, we've lost Niall Marr, we've lost Tom Bradbury, we've lost Jay Ben. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. To top it off, we lost Peter Barrow as well, which I think people were expecting. Really, I think there was always an understanding that if we didn't go up this season, then Peter Wild would leave. But we've made a good appointment in appointing his assistant, Chris Millington. And some of the signings we've made are top notch as well. You know, we signed Sam Minihan today from Stockport. Jordan Keynes followed him from Stockport as well. Manny Dizaruwe, who did really well for Grimsby in the playoffs, is signed for us. Jack Hunter, who was impressing for Gateshead in the National League North, he's come to us as well. So I think we'll have a good season, but I think for a club like Halifax, where the budget isn't fantastic, the definition of a good season is probably anything above mid-table. So what I think is going to happen is I think we'll finish just outside the playoffs this time, because I think we've got a good core we've got a good defence, we've got a good midfield, but I don't think we've really got a goal scorer inside because as much of a physical presence as he is, I don't think Manny Dizaruwe is an out-and-out goal scorer. And whilst Matty Warburton can chip in with goals, I don't think he's a sort of 20-goal season striker at this level, or not really a striker, but you know what I mean. I think we'll probably finish about 8th or 9th this season, maybe.
And obviously, I say this in jest, but what about Jamie Allen? Is he going to be? Do you think he'll stick around? Obviously, he left pre-season training to go less than a week in the Love Island villa. So I don't think he's. I don't think he was particularly popular with Halifax fans, but I don't think he'll have ever endeared himself to you guys doing that. Will he be involved, or do you think they'll just sort of move him on?
Well, I think some of the signings we've made, I think, just goes to show what our plans are going to be when it comes to Jamie Allen. We signed a lad called Angelo Capello right after Allen went into the Villa, so he's someone who can kind of play on either wing. So I would imagine once we can get a face-to-face meeting with Jamie, once he's done all his post-Love Island media appearances, stuff like that, we'll probably just get rid of him, to be honest. I'd be very surprised if he ever played another game for Halifax, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough. So you said before that you're not confident that you'll make the playoffs. Who do you think is going to be up there in terms of reaching those playoff spots?
It's such a strong league this year. I think you could genuinely make a very good case for about 12 teams at the moment. But I think if you were to look at who's going to be making the playoffs this year, you know, I mean, like I say, you've got 12 teams, and I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to come down to Notts County, Solihull, Chesterfield, Boreham Wood, Southend, and Bromley in no particular order, really. And then Wrexham could if they managed to not win the league, but I'd say, yeah, that's probably going to be my top 7 in no particular order, really.
Yeah, you touched on Boreham Wood there. Obviously, they had a decent season last time out, but it was more in the cups that they excelled. They went really deep into the FA Cup for a non-league side. Do you see that having a positive or a negative potentially effect on them going into the season? I think they've recruited well again. So
yeah, well, it's a bit of an interesting one because I think following on from that, it had a little bit of a negative effect for them on the pitch because their form just completely collapsed for a long while after that Everton game. I don't know if it's a case of them putting all their eggs in one basket or whatever, but in terms of like off the pitch impact, yeah, I mean, a game like that's gonna set a club up for years potentially. I mean,
yeah.
Boreham Wood already did have a little bit of money behind them, but with the FA Cup run they have, that's probably set them up for this season. I think it's shown in the recruitment as well because players like Danny Elliott are just brilliant signings. Danny Newton as well, very capable striker at this level. So I think in terms of the recruitment they've been able to have as a result of that sort of additional finance, so to speak, I think they're definitely going to be one to look out for this season.
Looking at the other end of the table, Altrincham, this is their first season as a full-time club. I've not actually done a proper ranking in terms of where I think teams will finish, but I think they'll struggle this season. I feel like it's just a gut instinct that I feel like they'll struggle to adapt to the full-time model. How do you see that faring? Do you think they'll do all right, or do you think they could be one to look at going down?
So I feel like some teams are able to adapt to that full-time model better than others. It's all about how you do it because there's some teams that kind of adopt a hybrid version of it where it's just you're not full-time per se, but you're not exactly on the part-time schedule either of just doing Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And again, it's just about how you adapt to it, really. I mean, some teams have struggled. I think Guiseley tried it a few years ago and it didn't work out for them. I think no Altrincham, I think they'll manage all right with it, really. I think Phil Parkinson's a very capable manager at this level. I think he's got a good squad of players there. So I don't agree that they'll be at like the bottom end of the table. I can see him being maybe a solid mid-table team, maybe just about breaking into the top half if things go their way. But it's certainly a solid foundation for potential progress over the next few years. I think if they can keep a hold of Parkinson and keep a hold of some of those key players, I suppose.
Who do you see going down? Because obviously the favourites will be that some of the teams that have come up, your Yorks and your Maidstones, your Gatesheads. Who do you see being in that bottom four?
So again, I honestly found this a really tough one to think of. Well, just before we started recording, because there's so many good teams in the league this season. There's quality at both ends of the tables nowadays. It's a completely different kettle of fish compared to when Halifax first got promoted into this league back in 2013. But so again, in no particular order, I think it's probably going to be Gateshead because they've lost Edwin Scott, they've lost Macaulay Langstaff, two incredibly good goal scorers, and to lose that sort of firepower is just going to be brutal for them. Maidstone, I think that's one where it's maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, but their quality, whilst they've clearly got it, is probably just a little bit below the standard of the National League or the sort of top 20 teams outside the relegation zone. Eastleigh, I think there's a little bit of disarray there. I don't know, something just doesn't seem right. They just went into a little bit of a collapse last season. And honestly, for my last team, I'm going to say Scunthorpe.
Right, that's an interesting one.
Because, look, I know a Scunthorpe fan very well right now. There is a lot of problems behind the scenes there.
Yeah.
the owner clearly isn't very popular, and whilst they've recruited all right, I just think that sort of disarray could leak onto the pitch as well, because that sort of atmosphere is going to be toxic in a way. So I mean, like, they've made some decent signings like Elliot Whitehouse, but I just think at the end of the day it could end in going down again. Like, if you look on Twitter, a lot of their fans, they kind of realise what sort of situation they're in, because a lot of them are just saying that they would take staying in the league next season rather than being one of those teams that comes down and think they're gonna absolutely walk it. So
we see that with a lot of, especially in recent years as well, teams sort of coming down from League Two. You look at like your Chesterfields and your Southend's and Notts County, even to an extent. I know they're sort of like looking to get straight back up, really, but there's no guarantee of an immediate return to the Football League, and I think it's a growing trend that the way I've always seen it is especially nowadays, a lot of teams that have been in the National League for a while, and even like the National League North and South, they're better run than teams that have been in the Football League for years and years and years. And these teams that come down from the Football League, they're not prepared for the quality in the National League system, and that's why they do struggle. And we don't see them bouncing straight back up. Yes, there's a few exceptions here and there, but it's not as easy as teams think. And I think the likes of Scunthorpe,
exactly. I mean, when York first came down into this league as well, they had the shock of their life, because they went straight through. So I'd honestly say it's the toughest league in England, I'd say. I mean, it's a completely different kettle of fish to when it was made up of primarily part-time teams maybe 15 years ago. It's a majority full-time league now. It's League 3 in everything but name, I'd say.
Yeah.
So again, and I think a lot of teams coming down maybe don't realise the standard of the National League nowadays. They still think it's that part-time league that it once was. I mean, and even as you say, in the National League North, it's becoming a very professional league now. That's a tough standard as well. I mean, look at how many years it took York to get out of that league. So
yeah,
exactly. So as you say, I mean, I think like Oldham could be okay, but yeah, Scunthorpe could be in for very, very nasty shock if they don't get their shopping order, I suppose.
Going back to talking about relegation before, let's just quickly touch on Dorking Wanderers, because they have had a meteoric rise. I think it's 12 promotions in 22 years. It's absolutely incredible, the project that they have going at the moment, and Mark White, what he's done for the club. I think he's gone from player to manager, and
he founded various
roles of the club. Yeah, exactly. Founded the club, and he's been integral to that success for them. Could this be a step too far, or do you think they'll be comfortable?
I honestly, I think they'll do all right. I mean, they're clearly a very well-run club. They're a club on the rise. So they've made some very good signings, like the form of Ryan Seeger, who's been scoring for fun at Hungerford over the last couple of seasons. So I would say it's probably I think they'll do all right. I can see them being a very comfortable mid-table team. I don't think they'll be in any danger of relegation. I mean, they probably do have the money to survive at this sort of level quite comfortably. It's then a case of what their goals are once they're stabilised at this level. It's a case of, do they accept being a stable club at this level, and would they then want to try and push on into the Football League? And it's a case of whether that sort of infrastructure rather would be there to support that.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I think they'll definitely be a neutral's favourite as well going into the season. It's almost like it's that fairy tale story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that YouTube documentary they do is an incredible watch. So I think that'll definitely help that sort of intrigue about them.
Yeah, shout out to it's a bunch of amateurs that have been producing that. It's great work. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. We were talking about Scunthorpe before, and you said that you think they'll struggle. A team I think who will struggle is Oldham as well. Obviously, I think the financial problems going on at both those clubs are clear to see. I don't think Oldham personally will be in danger of relegation, but I think again they'll be in for a rude awakening. But I think John Sheridan, if he does stay on, I think he'll have enough to sort of steady the ship and sort of get them through. I'd probably say they'll be maybe about 15th, 16th. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they've had the takeover on the day we're recording this, haven't they? So I think it's about how those new owners adapt. I mean, there's going to be, I think, probably a better atmosphere at the club at the very least, just because the new guy isn't who they've had for the past couple of years. It's about how much that can carry you, though, because, okay, yes, a good atmosphere helps big time, but it's not going to score 20 goals a season. I mean, I look at this squad, I think they've recruited fine. They've signed solid players for this level. You know, they've had Liam Hogan, who's been a fantastic player at this level for many years. Lewis Maynard, he's been around for a very long time. Again, I think just looking at this squad, it just comes down to them not really having an out-and-out goal scorer, I think. So I think they'll probably be okay in the sense that they're not going to be any danger of relegation. I don't think they'll be like genuine promotion contenders. So I think they could be one where they may be just outside the playoffs. So maybe like 9th or 10th, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's that much of a competitive league. It is so difficult to call. But before we move on to the sort of headline sort of subject of this, the one that sort of everyone will be listening for in Wrexham, are there any other teams you want to point out and or speak about that you've picked out as having an interesting season, either good or bad?
So in terms of a good season, I'd probably say Bromley. I think I would honestly say they're maybe dark horses. You know, they already had a very good striker at this level in the form of Michael Cheek. I mean, he's scored for fun for years now, and now they've kind of added to that sort of attacking power by bringing in Adam Marriott, who's a very capable striker as well. He's proven it at Kings Lynn over the past couple of years. He proved it at Barnet last season. And those two up front together, I think, will be just unstoppable. And then Notts County as well. They've got just as capable of a strike force in terms of Cedric Scott and Macaulay Langstaff. Like I said earlier, absolutely smashed it at Gateshead last season. It's about whether they can handle that sort of step up, I suppose, to the National League, particularly a club that's at the top end. But I think they'll certainly be capable of doing that. Cedric Scott in particular, with the amount of goals he scored at different clubs at different levels. So, and to be honest, I think they'll probably end up winning the playoffs for Notts County just because of that sort of firepower up front, as well as the quality they've got in the rest of their squads.
Yeah, that was going to be my final question. Essentially, I was going to ask you a definitive: who do you think is going to go up, who the two are going to be, and who the four are going to be that go down. But
I can reiterate that at the end if you want.
Yeah, close out the video with it. But obviously now move on to Wrexham, the big talking point.
Sure.
Many people were really surprised that they didn't go up last season with the amount of money they've spent, and they've spent. I think they've only brought in about 3 players this time around, but they are, you know, they're EFL quality players. I think it's Elliot Lee from Luton, Mark Howard, and
Jordan Tunnicliffe.
Jordan Tunnicliffe. That's the final one I'd forgotten. You know, they are EFL quality players. Surely they'll do it this time round.
Yeah, you're right. I think they've got to do it this year. I think it's definitely make or break in terms of for Phil Parkinson. I mean, if he doesn't manage to get out of this league with the players that he's got, then something's clearly very wrong there. But you're right, that quality that they've got is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Ollie Palmer and Paul Mullin were very easily the best strike partnership in the league last season. I mean, and then to kind of add Elliot Lee to that, who I imagine is probably going to be playing in behind him. It just isn't fair. Like,
it's not. No.
You know, you've got other quality players. I mean, John Davis very much came into his own last season. Max Cleworth from the youth academy, very capable defender. And then obviously you've got the likes of Ben Tozer and Aaron Hayden rather. So yeah, they've got to win it this year, and I think they probably will. I mean, we saw glimpses of them what they're capable of towards the end of last season after a little bit of a stuttering start, I'd say. But yeah, I think if they can sort of carry on from where they left off last season, then yeah, I mean, they should, in theory, win the league for sure.
So I guess that sort of ruins the next question is, who essentially do you think are going to be the two that go up? You mentioned Notts County before, and surely it's going to be Wrexham. Do you think Wrexham will run away with it, or do you think it'll be tight?
I don't think it'll be a runaway. I think Notts County will certainly give them as good as they've got. So I think it'll certainly be sort of a two-horse race between them. You've maybe got a potential third horse in the form of Solihull, who, again, have quality all over the pitch. But it's the case of whether that quality is good enough for a title fight rather than being just a solid playoff achieving side. But yeah, I'd say they're going to win it at Wrexham, but yeah, no way will it be, I suppose, a runaway title win.
And then you said Notts County, do you think will win the playoff final?
Yeah, so they'll again, like I said, they've just got that quality all over the pitch, really. They're probably... It's a side that I think a couple of years ago, before the league was just swimming in money, so to speak. It's a side that I think would absolutely walk it most seasons, but when you've got to compete with a Wrexham side like that, there's no shame in coming second to them. But again, I think that quality will shine through for them in the playoffs, and I think that'll just see them promoted through that.
And then can I have like a solid bottom four? I know you sort of mentioned a provisional one before, but just sort of repeat that for the viewers.
Yeah, sure. So again, in no particular order, I'd say my bottom four will be Scunthorpe, Eastleigh, Maidstone, and Gateshead.
I've seen a lot of people tip Wealdstone to go down as well. I've seen a lot of people predicting them to go down in dead last, but you seem surprised by that. That's just
I'm really surprised. That's a genuine shock to me because I think they've recruited really well this season. I think bringing in a player like Max Kretschmar, who was Woking's player of the season and probably their best player over the last couple of years, is a big statement signing. Don't get me wrong. This isn't me saying like, oh, Wealdstone are going to be in the playoffs or Wealdstone are going to be in the top half. But I don't think there'll be any danger of going down for sure. Certainly not dead last either.
Well, honestly, the season will tell. These predictions could look genius in 9 months' time, or they could look absolutely ridiculous and that we're talking rubbish, because that is the beauty of the National League. It just throws up so many surprises each and every year.
Exactly.
But thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing this prediction video with me. I wouldn't have been able to do anywhere near this without you. I'm not knowledgeable on the National League at all, as you can tell. I didn't even know Oldham had been taken over today. That shows the level of attention I pay to this league. But thank you, Lewis, for coming on, and best of luck for you and for Halifax as well for the season as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on.
So guys, there you have it. That was my preview video for the upcoming 2022-23 Vanarama National League season. A huge thank you as well goes to Lewis for coming on the channel, giving up his time to help make this video. I wouldn't have been able to do it without his expertise. He's very knowledgeable on the National League and non-league in general. So once again, a huge thank you to him for helping me out with this video. Also, do let me know down in the comments what you thought of the actual predictions themselves. Do you think we've got them right, or do you think we've got them wrong? And also, what other leagues do you want me to cover? I've got a National League North video planned next, so don't worry, that'll be covered. But any other leagues you want to see, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to leave a like on the video and also subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss an upload. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.